Hey, how you doing? So I've got some strategies for you, but we've got some issues because Woodstock is like a place, and it's a place in several places, like Vermont and New York, I discovered. There's also like the older Woodstock with the hippies in the 60s, and then there's the newer Woodstock with the toxic white male violence. How do we differentiate between the two is something that doesn't happen naturally, but what you'll have to do, it sounds scary, but what you'll have to do is like do searches and look for the ones that are relevant and the ones that are irrelevant, and you'll have to comb through. So you're the intelligent part of this search. Here's my strategies though. So the first one is I was like, okay, I'm going to ask AI, what are academic library keywords related to the events of Woodstock 1999? And it gives you like some official stuff, but also importantly, if you're talking about riots or violence or crowd management or media constructions, you can look those up all by themselves without having attached it to a particular concert series. So for example, if there is like media representation of one thing or another in a different festival, you can talk about that. So let me show you an example of what strategy that would be. So you would do music festival and violence. Even though it may not talk about Woodstock 1999, if you know that that's something that you wanted to look at, you could do it that way. And you would just click on. It's like a drive-by misogyny. So sexual violence at a UK music festival. You could use this article to talk about something that happened that maybe you found a YouTube video or a newspaper article, something that wasn't scholarly, because the evidence is about the sexual violence at a music festival, and then you could say this evidence supports. Does that make sense? Looks like Australia, looks like there's a lot of stuff going on. So that's one way of expanding what you're looking at. And you would just go to like articles, and you do peer-reviewed articles. And so here's all these music festival articles. You could also change that. You could do add search, music festival violence, and then you could add Woodstock. And then that would narrow it like way too far down. So there's only two. And one of them is about the 1960s. So there's only one. Break something. Objection and mutability of white masculinity in the Woodstock documentaries. What do you do if you find an article that looks pretty good? Another strategy is go into that article and see what so this is like a show. And it's commentary. They call Netflix's train wreck, and they call it exploitation cinema. It's like, what are you talking about? But so there's all these different things going on that are from a different perspective altogether. How do you find the references that they've used? You can go to that article. And so here's the main part of the article, and all the time they're talking about it. They're referring to other bits and pieces. These are references. So violence are constructed within the US media. If you wanted to find that article, just go down to their reference list. And all these articles are in here. So if you found something that you wanted, you just grab the title of the article, and go back into the library homepage, and you could just look for that title in quote marks, and you'll find that. Is it a book? Oh, it's a book. So for what it's worth, that's one strategy. Here's another strategy. We could go in, do Woodstock in 1999, and look for articles. And here's another one, Rethinking Crowd Violence, Self-Categorization Theory in the Woodstock 1999 Riot. So that's another one that you could pick apart and look at those references. But I went into another database, and I saw that sometimes they refer to it as Woodstock 99. So let's go to Scopus. I'm going too fast here. Let's go to the database where we can look up citations and look at what cites what. I don't know if I did this in class, but this is my last strategy for you. But pause and like rewind and go through these as you wish. But this is another one, another database called Scopus. This one's cool because you can see citations and what got cited, etc., etc. Okay, Scopus. So here's my search, and essentially what this is the following search if you wanted to duplicate this. Woodstock and 1999 or Woodstock 99. So it's looking for every article out of this database that has this word and this word, set of numbers, or it's going to look up those words. Here's the magic of this one. There's only 12, but here's this article we found before. What you can do is go in, and instead of going through the paper, you could go through or not like at the reference list at the bottom. And on this one, you can see what it's cited. Here's the references right here. And you can see which ones got cited the most. So this gets into the weeds of how to work on stuff, but this is another way how you could find these articles and see who cited them. Here's another cool thing you can do. You can scroll down. So here's another one, Woodstock 99 and MTV pay-per-view. Ooh, this one's really new, but they're talking about something that happened way back. Here's something that talks about a musical genre in there. But if we get far enough down, we'll run into articles. Weed control. I'm going to get rid of that one. Here's one. Rethinking Crowd Violence, Self-Categorization Theory. If that's a good one, but the article is like 20 years old, you can click on the articles that cited it. And you can see there's irrational group behavior. This says it may cite Woodstock and it may not, but this is where you could supplement what you wanted to say. Collective action. Oh, I didn't think about sports violence. World Wrestling Federation. Look at all this. Psychological crowd model. Now we can go back if you wanted to, and we could go and we could look up for crowd violence or crowd and violence. And you can find all sorts of different things going on. So it doesn't have to be related to Woodstock. Sports crowd violence, an interdisciplinary synthesis. So does that make sense? When you're going through these, don't be all caught up with the length of the article. I think we did this in class, but look at what they have to say in the last third of the abstract. So they're looking at sports crowd violence, and what you can do is you can see that somewhere in there that causes of fan violence is proposed, and then you could go in, grab one of those causes, probably from the conclusion at the very end of the article, and that could be a citation that you could say it would inform what happened in Woodstock 1999. There's a lot of stuff. Let me know how it goes, because if you run stuck on anything, I'm here to help interpret.